like to welcome you all here today, and I thank you for coming to listen to my speech that I'm going to give you on the selective service system. Okay, first, I understand that this may be a very controversial subject, and it has been dividing our country for the last 50 years. In 1973, the military draft ended, and the U.S. converted to an all-voluntary military. However, one word by the Congress and the President could change all of that. And before I go into my harms that I'm going to be stating for why I think we should eliminate the selective service system, I'd like to first go over a few definitions so that you can follow my case more clearly. Okay, so the selective service system is a registration process where the government collects men's addresses and phone numbers, and they only collect men from the ages of 18 to 25. They do this in case of a national emergency that requires rapid expansions of U.S. Armed Forces. Next, I want to talk to you about the word banned. When I say banned, I'm referring to forbidden by law. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say that we should ban the U.S. government, the selective service system. Okay, I want to talk about some harms that I'm seeing currently with this system. One is that quality over quantity. In other terms, we have soldiers that are physically there, but not mentally there. I have some evidence that will state this more clearly. According to Andy, a World War II veteran, he states, somehow those of us who were volunteers had a different outlook than the ones that hadn't been volunteers. It was as if those of us who were volunteers shared a common sense of duty. Also, Chris, a current soldier in the Iraqi war, stated, I would rather have one volunteer watching my back than 10 draftees. That is a huge statement. That explains my whole case right there. That soldiers rather have one person that actually wanted to be there than they would rather have 10 people that were picked out of a pool database that don't even want to be there. Also, I want to talk to you about how quality over quantity leads to unmotivated soldiers. I have a quotation here from Kevin Toomey, a World War II veteran. He states that it will give us bodies, not soldiers. This explains itself. The people that are picked from this pool are not necessarily the best candidates for the armed forces. And just because we'll have more numbers out there doesn't mean we'll have soldiers and doesn't mean we'll get the job done better. Next, we actually have another statement from Kevin Toomey, the same person I just stated. He says that draftees tend to be unmotivated and do not fit well with the standard military units. This results in decreased unit cohesion and morale, which are critical in combat situations. I can't even begin to tell you how important it is to have this cohesion with all these men and women out there fighting for our country. If they're not all on the same page, it creates stress, it creates collaborated work, and the work isn't nearly as good as when everybody is all together and understand the same ideas and are going out there doing the same job for the same reason. Things will be a lot better if we have people out there that want to be doing their job and feel accomplished when they're doing their job and they are fighting for the same reasons, okay? Next, I understand that some people may say that we need manpower out there. But just as I stated before, manpower isn't going to be the solution all the time, because you're going to have the men out there that don't want to be out there, and they're not going to be doing their job as well. And while I'm standing next to somebody that doesn't understand or doesn't even want to be fighting this battle, And I'm putting my life on the line for this man that doesn't even want to be there, who might not do his job as well as somebody that wanted to be there. And so we're not having the strongest force out there. And also on top of that, these soldiers that get recruited from this system are only getting 8 to 14 weeks of training compared to volunteer soldiers who are getting years of training. So we don't have even the same education level or even the same amount of training involved in these soldiers. So we're not putting out our best fighting abilities out there. So I propose a plan to abolish the selective service system that allows for the draft. You may ask, how am I planning to do this? I suggest that we eliminate all funds for the selective service system, leaving that agency with only enough money to terminate itself. Now, some of you still may be standing there not really convinced. I want to tell you a few advantages to my plan that I just proposed. Okay? A few of those advantages are, right now, this will not cost us as taxpayers any more money, okay? These expenses for introducing this bill will be covered in overhead charges that the Congress originally planned for in their budget. I also want to state that we are paying $24 million a year to keep this program running. And we have not used this program in over the last 15 to 20 years. So we've been putting money away for a program that's not even being used. Because like I stated, our armed forces is all voluntarily, okay? But it could change if we needed it to be. But this money is just sitting there and we're not using it, okay? Current estimates say that by abolishing this program, we will be saving Americans, you guys, the people I am talking to, $250 million in the next 10 years. I know some of you may say, what happens if not enough men and women volunteer for our services? Well, I propose that we increase and give them incentives, increase their pay rate and give them incentives for wanting to stay longer or to join the military and understand their background and understand what it is to be an actual soldier. And we would not have to pay for any of that, because I want to remind you that we would be saving $24 million with this program, and we can, instead of just wasting or just putting this money aside for just in case, we could be paying our soldiers more. And this would be a huge reward to them, and they may even stay longer terms, and they may certain people may decide to understand what it is to be a soldier, and we may get more recruits this way. And I feel that this is a way better idea than to just have a pool of people and they're not getting any incentives. Because you understand that those people will come in making, say, $40,000. These people pulled out of a pool, okay? And instead of pulling people that don't understand understand being in the military, we can give, that $20,000 to seasoned military personnel and give them more money. And then we'll have people that are more educated on what it is to be an actual soldier. So, in conclusion, I say that we pass a law that abolishes the selective service system because it's going to greatly increase our military standard, or our military men. Okay, we're going to have better people out there fighting our wars, people that want to be out there fighting our wars, and it's just altogether a better idea. And I hope that you guys have taken from my speech and understood the reasoning of why we should really truly get rid of this program, because it is doing nothing for us right now. We have not used it in over 15 years. It's just wasting money. And at a time like this, where we are in a huge economic crisis, extra spending isn't necessary, and we can be taking this money and putting it towards things that we do need. So I hope that after this speech that I have given you today, that you will elect to abolish the selective service system. Thank you.